In the last year and a half, I helped collect $800,000 in cash for one single online creator business. And if I could actually go back to day one, I would change almost everything about how we actually did it. And look, I'm not saying that to flex on you. I'm saying that for context because the numbers sound actually impressive until you realize how much of that revenue was harder than it needed to be to collect. We built things in the wrong order. We ignored systems that mattered. And look, we learned lessons the expensive way. So if you're a creator right now, sitting with 5,000 or more followers, and you're somewhere between that $3,000 to $5,000 a month range, wondering why it feels like that you're working harder than people making more money than you, I promise you, some of these mistakes I am about to share are the exact ones holding you back right now. So today, I'm going to give you the 5 biggest lessons I learned operating behind the scenes of an $800,000 creator business. The stuff that really nobody actually posted about, and the things that I wish someone had told me on day one. So let's go ahead and get into it. So here's lesson number 1. And it's actually the one that cost us the most time. You see, the offer was always the problem. For months, we blamed everything else. We blamed the ads, we blamed the content, we blamed the audience. Every time a launch underperformed or a sales call fell apart, our first reaction was, we just need more leads, we need better hooks, we need to just post more content. Well, in all actuality, none of this was actually the real issue. The real issue was sitting right in front of us the whole time. See, it was the actual offer itself. Here's what our offer looked like back then. A list of deliverables, a weekly call, a content library, and access to a WhatsApp group chat. And look, it described what we did, but it did not describe what the client actually got. And here's what nobody tells you. Nobody buys deliverables. Nobody just wakes up on a random morning and says, you know what I need today? Weekly calls and a content library. See, people buy outcomes. They buy the thing on the other side of those actual deliverables. The result, the transformation, the specific, measurable, believable outcome that changes their life or their business. The moment we restructured the offer around a actual specific outcome, which was for us to go from inconsistent months in real estate to predictable 3 to 5 listings a month through cold calling and active prospecting, everything changed. And look, it was the same service, same delivery, same price point, but completely different packaging. And then suddenly people were buying. So here's the lesson in a nutshell. If people are not buying what you're selling, don't just immediately go change your marketing first. The first thing you need to look at is your offer. The offer is the foundation. See, everything else, the ads, the content, the funnel, the sales call, it's just an amplification of what the offer already is. If the offer is weak, amplification makes it worse. If the offer is strong, amplification makes it unstoppable. Once the offer really clicked, that's when we ended up making the second mistake. Look, this is the mistake that almost every single creator makes the moment they get their first good month. You hit your first $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 in a single month and you think, all right, let's pour some more gas on this. Let's run some more ads. Let's post more content. Let's book more calls. And look, that is exactly what we did. And guess what? Ad revenue went up, but so did the actual chaos. See, fulfillment just got sloppy. The client experience dropped. Messages went unanswered. Onboarding emails were inconsistent. The clients who signed up in month 6 were honestly getting a completely different experience than the ones who signed up on month 1. And then the refund requests started coming in. Here's what the backend actually looked like behind the scenes. It was held together with essentially duct tape. See, there was no real SOPs, there was no CRM. Leads were just kind of sitting in a spreadsheet, sales calls notes scattered across, multiple different apps. Onboarding emails and sequences were actually sent manually one at a time. And so we were personally managing every single part of the business. And what happens when you just pour more volume into that kind of system it doesn't actually scale, it completely breaks. And look, the lesson hit hard, and I will honestly never ever forget it, that revenue without systems is just expensive chaos. See, you can't actually scale what you cannot systematize. Remember that. You know what most creators do when they start making more money? They try to hire their way out of it. They hire things like a VA, or they hire an assistant, or they hire maybe even like a setter or a closer. But nothing those people can do will fix the fact that there is no system for them to plug into. You are essentially just paying people to be chaotic on your behalf. Now look, here's another false belief. I'll build the system once I just make more money. Well, no, you need the system before the money, because the money is what breaks everything that's not systematized. You see, the creators who are making six figures cleanly, they're not the ones who work the hardest. They're the one who built the actual systems before they even needed them. Now, the third lesson was the one that I actually resisted the longest. Here's what I believed early on, and look, I believed it hard. If the content is actually good enough, people will just buy. They'll watch a video, a VSL, see the video, click the link, sign up, and simply pay. Well, look, I hate to break it to everyone out there, but that's just not how it works. And I'm gonna say that one more time because honestly, this belief kept me stuck for months, and it keeps a lot of creators stuck as well. They think if the content is good enough, people would just buy. And I'm here to tell you that is not how it works. Content does not sell. Content builds trust. Content generates attention, content creates leads, sure. But the conversion event, especially when we're talking about high ticket, something like $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, happens on a call every single time. And the reason is actually psychological. When someone's about to spend real money on a program, they have doubts, of course. They have questions. They have fears that they're not going to be able to articulate inside some sort of checkout flow. See, they need to be heard before they are sold to. The sales call is where you hear them out. The call is where the objections actually rise. And the call is where you can look somebody in the eye, face to face, and say, here is why this is the right fit for you, or here's why it's not. Once we finally standardized the sales process, where we scripted the sales calls, we actually trained the team on objection handling, we tracked the close rate metrics and KPIs week over week, revenue started to become predictable instead of just random. Before that, we had good months, but we also had bad months, and ultimately it was just based on whether the content was good or not. After that, we had a formula, a number in, number out, predictable formula. So if you're sitting on an audience right now and you are wondering why nobody's actually buying your $3,000, $5,000, or even $10,000 offer, it's probably not your content. It's that you don't have an actual sales system. You're simply just hoping someone to click a link. You're not selling, and there is a real difference there. Which ultimately brings me into the lesson that kind of ties everything together. You see, everyone sees the revenue number and nobody actually sees the infrastructure that makes it possible. $800,000 in cash sounds like a lot, and it is, but here's what nobody posts about on Instagram or TikTok. The actual fulfillment systems behind it. The onboarding flows, the email sequences, the CRM, the weekly KPI tracking, the retention mechanisms, and the handoff from sales call to the actual first client interaction. The way that we tagged leads, the way that we stored proof, and the way we fixed the client's problems. You see, that's the actual backend business. The content, the brand, the audience, that's essentially like a front door. Well, that's what people see. That's what they talk about. That's obviously what they take pictures of. But the backend is the whole entire rest of the house. And here's what most creators are doing. They are building a beautiful front door, but there's no house behind it. They have attention, they have followers, they have views, but they actually have no mechanism to convert any of it into predictable, repeatable cash. So every month feels like just starting over, where every launch feels like gambling, and every client just kind of feels like a coin flip. You see, when we actually built the backend properly, the offer, the funnel, the sales process, fulfillment, retention mechanisms, the business went from inconsistent good and bad months to predictable $30,000, $40,000, even $50,000 plus every single month, without having to rely on a viral post, without doing a crazy new launch, without praying to the algorithm gods. You see, that is really the difference having a strong backend makes. Now, here's another false belief. The backend does not matter if I just keep selling. Well, look, the reality is it matters more than anything. The backend is the difference between a business and just hustling for money. You see, a business survives slow months. A hustle just simply doesn't. And the last lesson is the one that changed how I think about all of it. The biggest lie in the creator economy is that consistency means posting every day. It simply doesn't. Consistency of content, for example, is just a vanity metric if the backend is actually broken. So you see, we had months where we posted 5 times a day. And on those months, we had made less money than when we only posted once a month. The difference was not the content. The difference was the system behind it. You see, a tight system with loose content will always beat loose systems with tight content. Always. Real consistency is not about how often you post. Real consistency is this: the same offer presented the same way every time. The same sales process ran the same way every time. The same fulfillment delivered the same way every time. The same onboarding experience, the same retention mechanism, the same checkpoints, the same handoffs every week, no matter what. That is what turns a chaotic creator business into a machine. Not more content, more structure. And here's the punchline. If you took everything I just told you, the offer, the backend, the sales process, the system, and you installed it into your business, you would actually have the exact same infrastructure that generated $800,000 in cash over the last 12 months. You see, the money was not the skill. The skill was actually in the systems that produce the money. So let me recap the 5 lessons really quick here. Number 1, you have to fix the offer first. Everything else is just an amplification of what the offer already is. Number 2, build the systems before you scale. Revenue without infrastructure is just expensive chaos. 3, sales calls are not optional. Content builds trust. Calls close deals. 4, the backend is the actual business. The content is the front door, but you have to make sure that there's an actual house behind it. Number 5, consistency of systems beats consistency of content every single time. Look, if any of this hits, if you recognized yourself in any of these lessons, there is a free 45-minute long training linked in the description that goes deeper into the full monetization system that I'm talking about. The offer, the funnel, the sales process, the back end, all of it. And that is where the real breakdown lives. So if you're sitting there thinking, I get it, I have the audience, I have the expertise, I just don't have the system, then you already know what needs to happen next. I will see you in the next one.